Hi, and welcome to the message for May the 8th. I hope you're doing fine. Last week we looked at the business of God's grace. We didn't take a look at all of God's grace, but we visited briefly God's grace. This week and next week, I want to highlight two of our responses to God's grace. There are many other responses, but these two I felt we should highlight. Zeal, which we'll look at now, and next week, faith. My message for us today is drawn largely from Romans chapter 12 and verse 11. Do not lag in zeal, says Paul, the man of zeal. Be ardent in spirit. He certainly knew about that, serving the Lord, which he certainly did in an exemplary way. What gets you all fired up? I mean, about anything. What gets you eager to change the world? What stirs your soul? What makes you want to rally to the cause? What leads to you donating more than is comfortable, arguing with vigor and commitment people who disagree? What makes you want to campaign, buy and wear the t-shirt? What gives you an urge to be part of the cause, whatever the cause may be? It's a very strange feature of human beings, being zealous in this way. I find myself pondering its story in the development of the human species, but I haven't got time to go down that very uncertain road. Instead, I want to say, actually, it is part of being made in the image of God that people are zealous. I'll return to that. But zeal is, at its best, epic. It's noble. It's a sense of duty, but on steroids. It gets fired up, riled up, passionate. At its worst, zeal can be atrocious, stupid, sick. It can be evil parading as good, pride and greed pretending to be something else. It can be fear and insecurity run riot. Zeal is something to be a bit cautious about. Religious zeal certainly is that, and doesn't have a good image. Religious zeal is associated with many atrocities, not just with explosive one-off atrocities, bad as they are, but sometimes with persistent lifestyles that oppress and restrict and make life miserable. We might think of religious zeal in terms of the person you always cross the road to avoid or don't want to sit next to in the cafe or whatever, because you know what they're going to do. They're going to go on their religious thing again, aren't they? And they refuse to talk about normal things. So religious zeal very often has a bad press and has earned it. Paul addresses this. Paul, who wrote quite a big chunk of our New Testament in the Bible. So, for example, writing to his friends in Philippi, Philippians chapter 3, verse 6, he talks about how bad zeal had led him to be an oppressor and a persecutor of the church, how it had led him to create atrocity and awful things. But then in writing to his friends in Galatia, in Galatians 4 and verse 18, he makes the point, I think, similarly drawn from his own experience. It's good to be zealous, provided the cause is good, provided the reason is a good and gracious reason. So what I'm wanting us to notice from the scripture is that zeal is good. Don't lag in it, says Paul in Romans 12, verse 11. Don't lag in zeal. Don't think that the right answer to bad zeal is to avoid zeal. Don't think that the answer to misguided religious zeal is to simply dampen down all zealous feeling. And it's not. The counter to evil zeal in the world will be a zeal for good. The counter to oppressive zeal in the world will be a zeal for liberation. The counter to all kinds of bad zeal, negative zeal, will be good zeal, positive zeal, love-based zeal. And the highest form of love-based zeal is zeal that is a response to grace and is an exhibition and expression of grace poured out to others. So, if God's grace has not yet moved you to be zealous, to zeal within you, you've not yet met it. You've not thought about it enough. It's somehow passed you by. It is impossible for you to comprehend anything of God's grace and not respond to it with zeal. So that's really important to understand. Now, zeal is not a style. So for some people, their personal style of zeal, and for some groups, their personal style of zeal will be full of fireworks, full of effervescence. It'll be bubbly, it'll be outgoing, it'll be energetic in an obvious way. And you won't miss that zeal. But the same strength of zeal in other personalities will smoulder just as deeply and just as strongly with the same passionate commitment, but it will come out in quieter manifestations, in quieter expressions. So it's not a style. It's not that zeal can be seen in the style of a behavior. Zeal is seen in the product, in what happens, in the commitment to make change, in the commitment to the cause. And for some people, that'll be effervescent, and in some people, it will be a much more sort of gentle thing, but just as strong. An inner force will emerge through our very different kinds of characteristic. So I said, I think this is part of being made in the image of God, because the Old Testament shows us a God of zeal. Near Christmas time, if you're ever near a church, you're likely to hear a passage from Isaiah read, which famously ends, "The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this." And the point is, human beings on their zeal will not be strong enough to bring about the impossibility of the promise that God has just made. But God's zeal will bring it about, because God has a commitment that is a burning fire. God is determined, and what is impossible for people will become possible because God's on the case and God is zealous about all this. In the New Testament, that God's zeal is expressed in the life, teaching, person, and especially the cross and resurrection of Jesus. If you think you can have a non-zealous Christianity, you've not yet looked at the cross of Christ. The cross is where God shows a phenomenal zeal, where Jesus shows his zeal, a self-sacrifice of your life for others. As Jesus comments in John, there is no greater love than that. That's zeal going all the way. That's zeal that is thoroughgoing. That is zeal that is uncompromising. That is zeal that it burns with passion. Now, when people are called to be zealous about something, people normally hold a rally of some sort. We'll all meet in the town square at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, and bring your flags or bring your drums, bring this, bring that, or we'll all meet in so-and-so's front rooms, or we'll all meet online, here's the link, or whatever it is. But there is this rallying, this gathering to the cause of those who are faithful and zealous. And what then happens, of course, is that as people gather and bump into one another in the town square or online or in so-and-so's front room or wherever it may be, that's football stadium, whatever, uh, the vibe changes because zeal feeds zeal and the temperature increases as people come together. And then the leaders start speaking and they remind people of why there's a cause, what is wrong, what needs to change, and how they're going to change it, and how their passion to make the change is key. They may sing the songs of the movement, of the grand cause. They may chant chants or shout the name of the leaders or whatever it may be. I could be describing an authentic church service because those, in fact, are the elements of a true worship gathering. That is to say, the zealous come together and start to spark off one another and remind each other how good it is to belong to this cause and how important the cause is and how we're willing to serve it. And in anticipation, then, we wait for a word from our leader, something to come to us from Jesus, a gospel message. And there may be, maybe several people will speak on behalf of the leader. However it happens, somehow the leader, Jesus, will be reminding the gathering of the cause of the grace of God and the need of a world in trouble. And the motivation will stir, and we'll sing some of the songs which give our worship to God and which speak of our cause. And this will help stir the spirit and consolidate the zeal that we're going to need in the days ahead. Corporate zeal then is this gathering together, this rallying, this belonging together. So worship is key and the belonging is key, because then we are stirred to pour out that worship and that belonging, that zeal, in practical action in the days ahead. We'll have been reminded why the world needs it, what we're to do about it, how we're going to go about it, and that we're going to live it out in our different settings, our different lives, but we'll be doing it as part of one body, one cause. It's called mission. It's whenever we allow our zeal for Christ, our zeal for God to overflow into real action in the world. So our worship, our belonging, our mission are all about zeal. Paul's words, do not lag in zeal. Be ardent in spirit, serving the Lord. So may God's Spirit fill you, empower your zeal so that you can worship along and serve in the practicalities of daily life and address the needs of the world as part of our response to the grace of God. God bless you.